What are the benefits of breastfeeding your baby or providing express breast milk to your baby? This is a video for anyone who is undecided about their feeding choices, someone who is considering their feeding options, or someone in that postnatal period who is scrolling through their phone at 3 o'clock in the morning going, oh, why am I doing this? What am I doing with my time breastfeeding my baby? I remember it so well, thinking at 3 o'clock in the morning, wanting to hit my head against a brick wall and thinking, why am I still doing this? And it was scrolling through at 3 o'clock in the morning and finding all of the health benefits for me that kept me going for longer. So I know the benefits massively help some people continue for that little bit longer and help you get through some of the really challenging days of breastfeeding. And this is something that should be as part of all curriculum on the school education system, and instead in child development they learn how to make up hungry baby formula. For anyone who is happy with their choice to formula feed, for anyone where there is breastfeeding grief, this is not the video for you. Scroll on past. You can check out breastfeeding grief. Also in the formula feeding series is the scientific background about infant formula that will make you feel really good about your choice to feed. This is not to be opened up as a discussion or a debate, because when we start debating breastfeeding, not breastfeeding in the comments, when we start putting each other down, the people who are let down are the women and the mothers ultimately. And no mother should be torn down in any comments whatsoever when it comes to infant feeding. We all make the decisions that feel right to us and our families and our babies. I will cover as many benefits in this video as possible, and if you yourself are breastfeeding your baby or you're considering breastfeeding your baby, put in the comments below what particular benefit is it that makes you want to breastfeed. So let's start with socio-economic. So breastfeeding is technically free in terms of cost. There's no cost of bottles, formula, sterilisation. There is obviously a cost to the mum in increasing their calorie content by about 500 calories a day. Economically speaking, babies who are breastfed are less likely to be impacted by illness, which means less days off work when those parents return to work. And because of the health benefits that breast milk provides to babies, there's less hospitalisations, there is then less strain on an economy, particularly where healthcare systems are funded by the state. There's also other things to factor in, like breastfeeding pillows that you might want, breastfeeding clothing that you might want as well, and also thinking about the optimal nutrition for that mum in terms of thinking about her nutrients and what she's intaking in terms of her diet. That obviously has a financial implication and cost for that individual. In terms of energy, breastfeeding is a much lower energy resource compared to the formula industry. So from an environmental sustainability, which is the theme this year for World Breastfeeding Week, there is a much lower impact on the environment overall. And even expressing milk and putting that into a bottle has lower energy requirements overall compared to the sterilisation, manufacturing of formula, distribution and transport stream of formula feeding. In terms of time, it requires a lot of time and input from the mother who is breastfeeding her baby or expressing for her baby. But on the other hand, it means that you haven't got to spend time sterilising, cleaning bottles, putting bottles in your bag, for example, sourcing and resourcing the formula, making up the feeds. Whichever way parents feed their babies, there is always that time needed to feed their babies. So, what are the benefits for babies? And in terms of the research and the health benefits, these are all correlational. So all of the next bits I'm going to go through look at big studies, and they look at those who breastfeed, those who do not, and what those health outcomes are. It's never cause and effect, because you can never put a group of babies or mums into breastfeeding only and a group of mums or babies into not breastfeeding randomly. It just never would work. And so these are the correlational aspects. And then some of these studies that I'm going to discuss help to reduce the relative risk of developing these certain conditions. And these benefits are not just for exclusive breastfeeding or exclusive breast milk expression. These are for any breast milk that is given. So whether you feed for one feed, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, however long you decide to breastfeed and beyond, it really has those health benefits for you both, regardless of how much you are feeding, whether it's exclusively or partially. So the health benefits for babies include lower chance of asthma and atopic illnesses, a lower chance of developing diabetes. Sudden infant death syndrome is lowered by 50% chance when mums breastfeed for at least 2 months, and that's either exclusively or in combination with formula. So for mums who are giving any breast milk at all, it does help lower that chance of sudden infant death syndrome. For breastfeeding babies, they have a lower chance of developing some childhood cancers, they have a lower chance of obesity and diabetes, a lower chance of developing ear infections. Because of the immune benefits of breast milk, they also have a lower chance of developing illness and infection in that postnatal period. They have extra immunity that is provided to them in that breast milk, including mum's own immune history from the illnesses that they have developed, but also their vaccines that they will have had in the past themselves. Breastfeeding also reduces the chance of dental cavities, and breast milk contains stem cells, which helps with any sort of repair that's required as well. Breast milk also helps to lower the amount of pain and discomfort babies feel and the amount of crying time, especially when breastfeeding before and during immunisations. Breast milk also has melatonin in, which helps to induce a sleep response in babies when melatonin starts being produced around about 8 weeks postpartum for babies. A new meta-analysis highlights that the longer the duration of breastfeeding, the higher the protective effect on developing autoimmune conditions in that baby as well, particularly if a mum breastfeeds for at least 4 months or more. For mums, breastfeeding helps to lower the chance of developing hypertension by 13%, reduces the chance of developing breast cancer by about 4% for every year a woman breastfeeds for. Breastfeeding reduces the chance of developing diabetes as a mum by around 30%. The chance of developing ovarian cancer is also lower with breastfeeding. For some mums, it can also help with weight loss. Other benefits include a contraceptive benefit, a delayed return of periods, and a later onset of menopause. Breastfeeding can help some mums with bonding and attachment, and it can also help to reduce the chance of developing mental health conditions in the postnatal period. This is seen highest amongst the women who meet their breastfeeding goals. For mums who are exclusively breastfeeding, postnatal depression rates are lower. However, for mums who start breastfeeding and where the breastfeeding journey ends early, especially if that is abruptly because of the hormonal response and the hormonal crash that happens with sudden stopping of breastfeeding, that is where postnatal depression rates can increase when maybe someone who intended to breastfeed is unable to breastfeed for as long as they wanted to. This is why we need far more support for all mums who want to breastfeed, to help support them to breastfeed for as long as they want to breastfeed, but also providing them support if that journey ends earlier than they would have liked or intended to. Now, to give the balance, there are downsides of breastfeeding. One is that it is all on that woman, person, mum herself. We have to think about employment and employment rights here. And across the world, there is huge variation in maternity leave times, in payment, and that in itself has an impact on the duration of breastfeeding. It is being aware that breastfeeding is a protected characteristic and you are entitled to a safe space to express in, should you choose to want to express when you go back to work, if this is possible for you. For some mums, breastfeeding is neither easy nor able to be achieved. Breastfeeding is hard work, especially in those early weeks where you are recovering from birth. Poor latch, attachment, baby having oral restrictions, maybe there's certain conditions, prematurity, the type of birth and the way babies were born can all have an impact on how breastfeeding goes in that initial period, but also in terms of the pain and discomfort that might happen from that. Pain and discomfort is quite common in the early weeks of breastfeeding, whilst you are both learning. It's also being aware there are risks of things like mastitis and thrush too. For some mums, they get vasospasms, they get blebs, they can get sore cracked nipples. There can also be a chance that if mastitis is not treated, it can lead to breast abscesses. And finally, every breastfeeding journey is entirely different, and it's about walking your own path, getting the support you need. National Breastfeeding Helpline, local support groups, midwives and health visitors, please reach out.